Welcome back to the Psychological Paradigm Shift. I am Ed Rieger, your host. I hope you found the last episode on family history informational and helpful. Always remember, I am only providing my personal opinions based on my experiences and education on psychological topics. Tonight we will be talking about mental illness in a very blunt, transparent manner. The topics will be disturbing to some, and it will never be my intent to hurt anyone, only to share my ideas and thoughts. Tonight we're going to cover the questions surrounding abuse. This is the category we're going to cover tonight. If you're still listening to this podcast, I applaud you. I know this information is not easy or pleasant to listen to sometimes. I do believe it is medicine that we must take individually and as a national and global society. If we want to really start the healing process and begin to evolve psychologically, we must educate ourselves on this information. Let's get started. Abuse is the number one trauma that many of the mentally ill face very early in life. The abuse they experience is ugly, painful, dehumanizing, long-lasting, and may alter the way the functioning of their brains work, depending on the kind of abuse. Once a child has been traumatized, who knows what splintering takes place in their souls? When you're traumatized as a child, it may change the entire path of who you or who you were supposed to be psychologically. As you communicate with potential romantic partners, this category will be the most sensitive topic that you and they will face. These questions will create the greatest red flags that you will go through. These questions and answers may be the greatest secrets that they've kept from themselves and will definitely try and keep from you. These questions may be the most taboo of all questions about their families and who they are. When you look at some of the top reasons people divorce, infidelity, lack of communication, lack of intimacy, abuses during childhood may be the number one core reason for all of them. Always remember that for some people, they just don't have one wound. They may have multiple wounds that they experienced for many, many years as children. Let's get into the questions. Have you ever been physically beaten as a child? Were you beaten by a parent, sibling, grandparent, or other family members, or non-family members? Was there any instrument used to beat you? I had a brother he's deceased now, and he would use a belt to beat me until my tears were really dry heaves. How often were you beaten? Did you require hospitalization? One time? One time I was so scared of the beating I was going to get from my brother that I jumped out of a window. The end result was a large piece of glass cut my stomach, and I spent 6 months in the hospital. Did anybody in your family ever verbally abuse you? How often? And this is a big question. Were you sexually abused? Was the abuse from a family member or non-family individual? Was it your father, mother, sibling? I have experienced, and I find that brothers can be some of the biggest predators there are. One of the major red flags here is girls or women associate with their brothers individually. or do they? I can almost guarantee they don't, especially if they've been abused. Or it's very filtered through family gatherings only. How often did they abuse you? This will give you a sense of the severity of their traumas. How many years did the abuse last? This is going to let you know how many wounds they have dealt with or still may have wide open. Did the family members ever receive treatment for their behavior? This is really important. And I'll go through it here in a second. Here's the next question, though. Was the abuse ever reported to any law enforcement, clergy, educational resource? Most likely not. Families don't want to betray each other, or they know in the back of their minds that this abuse will destroy their families. This is where I think things get really complicated for victims. Did anyone ever get you treatment for the abuse? We've talked about this before, but this goes back to these last couple questions. If a parent or sibling is the abuser, that abuser has no motivation to report themselves or to seek treatment for their child or sibling. They're only motivated to do one thing: keep abusing their victims with no remorse and no punishment. Do you continue to have relationships with the person that abused you? To keep peace in a family, the victim may try to continue relationships with family abusers, even though they age. As they age, they begin to realize how abnormal the abuse is. Or you may see them try and break away, like run away, and disappear. The FBI estimates that over 2,000 children go missing each day in the United States. Is that because of this kind of abuse? How do you socialize with them? We've talked about this before, where victims may start to separate from families. Their social activities will be lessened or non-existent. How often do you socialize with them? Are you ever alone with your abuser currently? Have you ever had sex with them recently? If they are willing to even discuss this, it is critical to see how long ago they had sex with the abuser. It may tell you if they are still being victimized and if they even are aware themselves that they are victims. Especially if they're younger, in their teen years, early 20s. This may be very important information for you if you're trying to date them or create a relationship. When's the last time you had sex with them? If you have children, do you allow the children to be around your abuser? This is a big question. I've seen family allow their children to spend the night or weekend with family members who just got out of prison for sexual assault of children. They didn't even think twice. Put the children right in the path. Do your children socialize with them? Chaos chasers may not have any problem with this. Fog lifters would definitely think twice. How often? Are your children ever alone with your abuser? Do you know if your abuser abused any of your other siblings? Do your siblings ever socialize with the abuser? Do you and your siblings ever talk about the abuse you received from the abuser? Most siblings will never discuss the abuses they experience with their parent or sibling. It is a major family secret that is extremely taboo. If the abuse did not come from a parent, have you ever spoken to your parents about the abuse? Most victims are frozen with fear or memory loss. Saying the words out loud that you were abused is extremely difficult. especially for a child. Did any of your siblings receive the same abuse? This is where you need to begin to understand that if you are going to try and create a permanent relationship and have children with them, then you may be exposing yourself to siblings who have received the same abuse, and what treatment and healing process have they gone through? You need to think of protecting your future children from this exposure. From the same abuser. How often? If the abuse was not from your parents, did your siblings ever tell your parents? You need to know how receptive parents are to bad information, or do they choose to live in a happy world in their mind and avoid any unpleasantries? Did your siblings ever receive treatment for the abuse? Were the abusers ever exposed to authorities? We're talking about parents, siblings, extended family. None of these people are going to turn themselves into any authorities. Did they ever receive judicial punishment of of all the abuses they experienced? Not one person ever faced charges for or paid any prices for the abuses I lived through. I think parents and siblings who abuse their family members are almost bulletproof. And that's why these abuses continue generation after generation. That's why I created the Psychological Education Act. It's a new law that I will introduce when I run for political office that begins the education process of psychology, just like math, English, science, to kindergartens all through 12th grade. We must break the generational effects of mental illness permanently. Only education, transparency can accomplish this goal. Well, I know that was some heavy stuff, so let's stop here for this week. And again, thank you for sharing time with me tonight. I hope this information was helpful as you progress through our psychological paradigm shift. Remember, you can go to the website, psychologicalparadigmshift.com. I will post any updates. You can email me questions or thoughts. And I look forward to next week's episode with you. Take care of yourselves.